It auto records. Okay. Small pause. And so we're started. This is our July 24th, 2023 NSA Ad Hoc. We are gathered here today to sort of have a discussion about some of the community's priorities of what we should tell the court we want to do, and to set those practices in motion to develop culture change in the department and to instill the community's values into the department. Welcome, everyone. I appreciate you all taking the time. I think we have a couple of things currently on for the agenda, which is informal and can be changed or discussed or taken in whatever direction. First, we'd like to set a schedule of meetings for us to return to this topic and to take on many of the things that I emailed to you, or other things that we want to focus on, ideas we want to develop, and how we want to implement those things, or how we might suggest the court help us in implementing them, or getting OPD to implement them. The strategy we still have to figure out. The second is to discuss and figure out how we're going to talk about it. Do we just freeform? Do we try to take on a big topic at each meeting, develop whatever it may be? And then third is to actually talk about one of these topics that I've mentioned, or something else that we have. I know I've watched the recordings since I wasn't here last time, and I saw some great ideas, many great ideas that I've hopefully faithfully captured in that email. And so I think we can develop those ideas into something that we can focus in and let the court know, hey, you asked about culture change. This is what the community wants, and things should be part of that culture change. And these are the recommendations and how we might implement them. First, can we talk scheduling? I know it's not the most exciting thing to talk about, but I thought it'd be good to do it first while we still have energy and time. Okay. Let me pull up a calendar to help guide us. So I think it makes sense to meet as many times as possible before our submission on the CMC, as well as leading up to the CMC meeting. I am hoping, and I think I've talked with Commission Chair Malele and indirectly Brenda Harpin-Forte about having 4 meetings before we get to the CMC. Couple of suggested dates that I need to find, and I need some help finding. Let's see.
All of those August dates there.
Just give me 1 second while I pull up the calendar so that everyone can look at it and follow along.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Share screen. I'm a visual person. I'm sorry about this, so thought it might help. Okay. So, Brenda, do you have the dates?
Yeah, let me pull it up here. Let's see. Monday 8/14. You want me to give you all of them, or you just kind of highlight them? Maybe. Okay, the 14th, and then Monday the 21st, then Monday the 28th, Tuesday September 5, Thursday September 7, and Monday 9/11.
What dates are these?
These are for this ad hoc.
Possible meeting dates, and and Jesse, you said we want to pick 4 dates, try to have 4 meeting dates.
I could go with 5. I love spending time with y'all. Whatever, whatever we think is the best idea or what we can get a critical mass of people.
Was that a result from the survey?
No, these are just dates we threw out because Mondays are available.
Yeah,
I noticed that all of them are
yeah.
Mondays.
This is the survey, right? This is a live survey for
Oh.
everybody to look at their calendars.
No, you know what? Actually, this is a result from the survey. This is a
Oh.
result from the survey. I apologize. The one that Kelly sent out.
Let me be quiet.
I'm a little frazzled. Apologies. So that was Monday, August 14th, Monday, August 21st, Monday, August 28th. Then the September 5th, Tuesday, which is right after Labor Day. September 7th, Thursday, which is, I don't think we need to meet twice in a week, but perhaps that's just in case one or the other doesn't work. And then September 11th, Monday, could also take that week off. That's also okay. But hoping to get at least 4 in. And someone remind me when the CMC date is and when our deadline to file.
The
What
20
times are these on Mondays?
6 p.m.
September 26th is CMC. The fall date is the week before the 19th.
September, I'm sorry, what, September when?
September 26th is the
Okay.
CMC date. And the week before is the 19th,
Is
the
when the
filing.
statements would be due?
the filing deadline. If we haven't heard from the city attorney yet, but if we follow the pattern of before, they usually like to file the day before that, which would be the 18th.
And we have, and we also need to submit this to the police commission for consideration and approval before we send it in. So the last opportunity to do that would be September 14th. So yeah, getting in 4 meetings before that September 14th date. Hopefully with a rough outline for the police commission at their. Do we have a 2nd August date? Or did we cancel that?
We
Oh.
canceled it, but I believe, but we could always vote to have a special meeting.
Yeah.
If we need it. It's
And-
been an experience that we may want to bring something more than once to the commission.
So reactions to this, what is probably seems like an aggressive schedule, but I think what needs to be the work here and the talking and the discussions needs to happen and needs to be synthesized and sort of gone through and brought back and make sure that we capture everything that's being said. And it's very important to me and to all of us that whatever we have is something that we can reach consensus on submitting to the to the court. Mariana?
Yeah, I agree that it has to be an aggressive schedule and calendar. But what I don't want us to do is aggressively try to put something together that's not together. If we have to end up giving a report on what we've been having a conversation about, then let's do that. But I don't want to try to aggressively try to put something together that just doesn't make any sense. I don't know if that's clear. Thank you.
I understand that to mean that we want to develop recommendations that we have consensus around and that we know are either things that we think will work, logically work, or practically can work, or some goal to attain, and that to the extent that we might not have agreement, we don't necessarily choose one side or the other, but we have some sort of more generalized topics like this is what we've been talking about, this is what we want to happen. Here are the different suggestions as to how we might do that. We haven't quite come to a consensus about it, but this is where we're at. Reggie?
Yeah, everything we do here and decide upon has to go to the police union, right? And they can put thumbs down on every one of our recommendations. Is that correct?
They can try. They can try, but if a federal monitor in the court starts to get on board, I would say that they start to have a lot less leverage.
But if they say meet and confer, that this, in their estimation, changes their working conditions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and that they're willing to go to court to file a stay or something like that.
They can meet and confer. That, I mean, like, I get what you're saying and I understand why, but they're never going to agree unless we make them do it.
Well, I think we ought to understand that with the decisions that we make here are not by no means final in that, so I'll just leave it at that.
Definitely. They're going to fight us tooth and nail, which is why we submit it to the court and we get people to get on board.
Yeah, and I for one, I'm not going to waste the opportunity to make recommendations, right? Like, this is why we're all here. And people tend to take the time that they have, and you can get really good work done. Even if we end up with only 2, I'd rather submit 2 than nothing and just say all we did was ruminate. We have plenty of time to do something, and we can do it well, like we tend to. It won't be haphazard. It'll be well thought out, and we have a many great minds here. We can definitely come up with something by the deadline.
It looks like Deputy Chief Wong is on.
Welcome, Chief. Well, Deputy Chief, thanks for joining us.
Hi, yeah, thanks. I know Nick and I both weren't available, but I realized it would be kind of bad if neither one of us were here, so sneaking this in.
We appreciate you taking the time. Okay, I'm not hearing significant opposition to the dates nor the times, so.
No problem. Mondays, I'm teaching the classes on Mondays for 6 weeks, emerging leaders, and then Old Testament 1 and 2 on Thursdays.
When do you start?
Yeah, that starts in, hold on. September 11th.
So we have you in August.
Oh, yeah.
We have your Mondays in August.
I think we'll just miss you on
Yes.
that last September 11th date and the September 7th, which is a Thursday. Because you said Thursdays? Or
Yes.
does that also start the 11th?
I thought he said the classes start. The classes start when? September what?
9/11.
9/11.
Yeah, Old Testament 1. That's September 11th.
But you also mentioned the Thursday thing.
Yes, and Thursdays. That starts on the 7th, Thursday, September the 7th.
We need to get your dates before the 7th, before September 7th. Right. So we should look. I'm sorry, Jesse, you're cheering. I'm just wondering if maybe we should just take each date at a time. Just start with that August date and see how many people are available, maybe, and sort of start clearing them that way.
That sounds good. August 14th. I see thumbs up,
Yeah, I'm good that day.
rolling up and down. Why don't we do it this way? Say something if you can't make it. August 14th. Yeah. Chief Wong?
Yeah, I won't be available, but I'll check with Lieutenant Kalanch.
The 14th at 6 p.m.
Yep.
Okay, NSA meeting. Okay.
August 21st. Sorry about the 6 p.m. y'all. I can't work during the days. I'm trying. It's going to be a bit before I can. Not hearing any objections. August 28th.
I can't make it that day.
September 5th.
I'm also out that day.
Good.
That's a Tuesday.
It is because Labor Day is Monday and
Right.
we do
Yeah.
take
We
seriously
get-
Labor Day.
We get days off?
Hmm,
I
We
think
get days off? I didn't realize that.
you get Labor Day off the 4th.
Oh, we
right?
do? As commissioners?
Oh, no, I don't know. Let me stop.
I
You
We
know,
don't get any days off.
I get every day off.
It's all
can't
on our
do-
time.
I can do September 5th.
Okay, that's 2 for September 5th. All right. September 7th.
Oh, Reggie can't do that Thursday. I'm good with the 7th.
But he can't do the 14th, right? But he could do the 7th.
He can't do the 7th or the 11th.
Oh.
It may, and this is 4 dates,
It's out.
3 dates.
So what I am kind of considering is that we take the 3 August dates and September 11th. Although I'm a little worried about the September 11th date because of our turnaround to the commission and getting a final product to hit our Brown Act deadline. So maybe it's the 3 Mondays and then September 7th.
Are Wednesdays bad days? for Everybody?
I can make it work.
Talking about the,
Um,
talking about
I
the
can-
6th.
I can't do Wednesdays.
At all? Okay.
No.
What about the week before? Can you go back to August?
The first week in August, maybe? Oh, I guess the survey didn't have any takers for that.
Did people say they could do the 28th or they could not?
We have one and Nikki's out for the 28th.
What about the 29th?
Nikki saying no to that too.
Yeah, and if it's just me, I think you all should still have it because I feel like there will be, you need the work increments.
I was trying to make it so that we had only one person missing and only that one person, if you are gonna miss a day, it would only be one of the days that we have. So I was suggesting the 14th, 21st, 28th, and the 7th.
Oh, those were the 3. Okay.
Yeah. So, or it'd be 4 total.
And we may want to work back as well from meetings, Jesse, because if our any report is going to need to be finalized by what date? The 21st,
Before we need a commission approved by the 14th, which is why we
by
have the meeting on the
14th.
which is why we have the meeting on the 7th instead of the 11th, so that we can get it into the packet.
Okay, and then if it needs revisions though, we'll have to probably do a first draft before then. Probably at the end, well, we're not having an end of August meeting though.
We might.
We can do a special meeting if we need to. We just have to work out quorum.
Okay.
I
'Cause I'm
also
thi-
think that we may want to publicize some outline by the 28th.
by
That
the
Like
makes
post it
28th.
on the website so people actually can see it. Maybe start sending stuff or doing stuff.
Have we suggested August 7th or was that already a no?
Give it a shot. August 7th.
I won't be here.
Wong
DC
can't-
won't.
I will not.
Yeah, I won't be here that
Oh, is
day.
that
either.
Mariano can't be there on the 7th? And DC Wong either?
Right, I won't be here, but I'll once again check with Lieutenant Clonch for that one too.
Why don't we, Mariano, was it the 5th that you were out?
August?
No, September. Sorry, I know this is painful,
Yes,
but I
yes.
want to try to get this
Tuesday.
done. Okay. So maybe we just hit the 4 Mondays in August and the 7th on September.
Three Mondays in August, 4 Mondays in August?
7, 14, 21, and
Okay.
28,
Okay,
and the 7th.
Okay.
We'll actually be strict about the hour and a half since we have that many days so that we can try to focus in on a topic or two. And try to bring as much information to you all and suggestions and synthesize those as possible.
So Jesse, Commissioner Shea, can you just review the dates just? So I have August the 14th, August the 21st, August the 28th, and September the 7th.
Yeah, and we're just talking about August the 7th right now
Okay,
as well. So 5 dates total.
you mean September 11th?
I mean, August 7th.
Oh, August 7th, sorry, yeah.
and we're talking September 7 or September 11?
September 7th,
September 7.
because by 7:30, by 8 o'clock on September 11th, it'll be too late to hit the police commission packet.
So August 7th would be our first meeting then from today. If we decide that.
Yep.
Okay, I won't be here. Normally, I would say you guys should go ahead, but since it's the first meeting, I would like to be there.
What do you mean first meeting? We've had like a lot of meetings. I'm confused.
The first meeting from today. After today, that will be our very next meeting. Is that correct?
Yes, I just
Yes.
don't understand what's significant about our next meeting versus any meeting in the series.
We're looking at starting to roll up our sleeves and start talking about proposals and recommendations.
We're doing that today.
We are doing that today. Sure.
It starts now.
But I also get what Mariano is saying.
Okay.
Is it, if we pick a topic for the 7th, is it possible that we, Mariano, that you are able to submit written suggestions if we pick the topic in advance?
You know, I'll take back what I said. You guys should go ahead and meet on the 7th.
Well, how about July 31st? Did anybody mention that?
We did not, but we could also do that.
Yeah, we could swap Mariano's day for the 31st.
Well, it looks like somebody's gonna be out. We got Nikki who can't make it on the 28th. So there may be other dates when one person can't make it.
July 31st.
Let's just double check July 31st because the
Yeah,
other part of it
It
is,
works for me.
I do
can-
like y'all, but 4 times in a month is a lot too.
yeah, I got a Zoom call scheduled for 5 that may last a long time.
Let's go back to the 7th. It's fine. You guys should meet on the 7th. The majority can meet on August 7th. I'll be in Denver toasting my daughter's wedding.
Congratulations.
Pretty important.
Yes, indeed. And you are not gonna be wanting to send any emails or anything leading up to the
Right.
wedding date.
You gotta walk down that aisle, man.
Hey, you got a rehearsal dinner to
Yeah,
prepare for
to
it.
give that lady
everything.
away.
Yes, indeedy.
Mariano, can I follow up with you? Maybe you're gonna be there at our community policing on the 3rd, right?
Yes,
Maybe I can follow up with you on are you flying out on Friday?
actually, I'm flying out on Wednesday.
Oh. Is there a time that you and I could check in and then maybe talk about the next topic? Sort of bounce back ideas back and forth, and I can report back so that you don't have to write?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, let's figure that offline.
Mhm.
Cool. All right, 7th, 14th, 21st, 28th, and September 7th. Thank you all. We'll do our best to keep it at 1 hour and a half. And then I guess the next part is trying to figure out how we're gonna do this. Sorry.
Just excuse me, I was gonna say, and I guess for Nikki as well, Jesse, you'll meet sort of offline with her too and get her ideas, because she can't be here on the 28th.
Thank you. Yes. And then we'll probably need to do the same for Reggie, but at that point, I think we're finishing up.
Oh, for the 7th, yeah, that's right, Reggie can't do the 7th, yeah.
If you all want to talk to me, it's okay if you don't. Okay. Thoughts on any other thoughts on scheduling? Sorry it takes so long to schedule, but I'd rather get it done. Okay.
Smart move.
The next piece is hopefully talking about how we're going to go about this, setting intentions and figuring out how we're going to have a conversation, because this is, big topics. I did set out a number of topics, a number of topic areas. That was just as what I kind of saw overarching themes of what y'all talked about in the last 2 meetings. How do you all want to talk about it in some way going forward? I know it's weird to talk about how we're going to talk about things, but I think it makes sense to sort of figure that out now so people can plan, prepare, bring recommendations, and sort of bring their best foot forward and know when to do so. Thoughts?
I can start. I love the topics you brought up. And like I said, thank you so much for taking leadership on that. What I can suggest and then also offer is that, when we talk about a specific topic, that we can come prepared with questions about those topics so that we are sort of getting to so that there's more in as far as discussion. So I can help devise some questions about the topics. I already have plenty of questions. Some of them are going to need council help to see what's possible. But yeah, just, for the next meeting, coming up with some questions around those topics that can help steer the discussion.
I appreciate that. I think that's great. I think asking the right questions is a big part of getting to the right answers. And I think that that's something that would definitely help us. For me, I think that depending on how we decide to talk about these, if we decide to talk about topics, if we decide to talk about just free form, or whatever it might be, I will work with our OPD representatives, whether it's DC Wong or Lieutenant Kalange, in identifying policies or places in OPD's policy where these items might come up or may be, so that we can identify pressure points or places where we can make those changes if we want to do that, or if we want to have it be a bit broader. Also reach out through NACO contacts or other commissioners to figure out who subject matter experts might be for the things that we are talking about. Other thoughts?
Commissioner Shea, how do you envision incorporating a subject matter expert on culture change?
Well, if I think about it, culture change is a very broad topic that may encompass many different facets of organizational change, whether that's some of the things that we talked about: policies, accountability, discipline, hiring, setting standards for ethical leadership and management, sort of developing leaders from not just the top, but also in the mid-level, figuring out how we're training people or what we're teaching people. I think it's going to be very hard to find one person who's going to do all of those things, and talk about transformational change or leadership, although there might be that person as well. I think what we need to do is identify topics and figure out what it is that we want to work on, and then identifying those subject matter experts for those, because there are probably experts for each one of these, but it's also the right type of expert and the right type of change or training or whatever it may be. So that's my initial thoughts about identifying subject matter experts for culture change. What about you? What do you think?
Well, I was asking about how to incorporate it. I got some ideas, and I was just, wondering, when and how, into the conversation and for how long. I mean, to me, we're talking about a specific culture change, and I know it has a lot of facets, but we're talking about culture change in law enforcement in Oakland Police Department. So that, although it's a broad subject, it's also very specific. And when you sent out that email, I immediately thought about, there was around 2010, 2012, there was a police officer, I think his name is Robert Oliver, who was who ended up suing the department. He ended up leaving, and then he went on to work be a commissioner on the Privacy Council. He knows the in and outs of the culture here in the department. And so, I was just wondering, how to integrate a person such as that into the conversation. We're going to have a set of questions or of asks, for any subject matter expert. We can't just, have an open-ended invitation. So that was more my question.
I think that is a great question. I think that what I could see with the time that we have is either inviting them to come into these ad hocs to talk about very selective pieces or maybe things that they have worked on, or to give them a prompt about what their particular expertise might be and have them talk about it for about, 20 minutes, and then we question them for about 10 minutes or however long it might be, and then take whatever it is that they have or what we develop into recommendations or thoughts. That's just thinking based on what you mentioned, and if Mr. Oliver is available and would be able to do that, and you think you can make that connection and we can talk about what subject that might be, I feel like that would be a great way to integrate it. Judge?
Yeah, and I'm wondering too, this might be a wonderful opportunity to do something like a public forum on this kind of topic and let the public hear, if we can find someone who has actually taken a police department through a culture change. That would be good to do, like a public forum, invite the public, everybody weigh in, sort of let this subject matter expert talk about the challenges, but also the rewards, how they did it, where they started. That may be something, because at some point we probably should do another at least one public forum before we file our pleadings. We did 3 public forums last time before we filed for the April one. We didn't get a big turnout, but we did. I do think we ought to do something. And culture change is on everybody's mind. So I don't know, Reginald, I know I thought you had mentioned someone the last time who had been an expert or helped some other police department in another state or something. Make some changes, internal changes. I can't remember.
No, what I mentioned last time was Keith Ellison, who's the Attorney General for Minneapolis, who was prosecuted in Derek Chauvin. and the other 3 officers for the George Floyd. And he wrote this book, and which is Breaking the Wheel. It's entitled Break the Wheel, Ending the Cycle of Police Violence. Okay, so you got to get somebody like that that's been through it, that's did it, and know what the obstacles are in front of them, or the pushback will be. And then we got to face the fact that there will be enormous pushback. So this is not something that, oh, hey, we worked on this for 6 months and we made our pleading and everything is okay and we're all done in 8 months. No, culture change in Oakland Police Department may take 5 years.
Easily.
It may take, yeah,
Easily.
exactly. So you gotta have, first of all, you gotta say, what is you gotta define what is the culture that we have presently. Then where do we want to go? What are the things that we want to change? And we don't have to get them all, but let's say the first 10 things that we have to change. Then the big thing is that as long as the Oakland Police Department or any police department, rank and file, believes that they don't have to change, that everything that they have been doing or have been doing wasn't me, that was the officer that was here before me. It has nothing to do with me. You know, that was those cops that was working in the 80s, in the 90s, in the 2000s, not me. Well, as long as they think like that, then they don't understand culture that needs to be changed. Because culture is passed down, and it's passed down officially and unofficially. Officially, it's passed down through your trainings, through, when they go to post training. Let me just, as a sidebar, I need to say this right now, because I didn't say it last time we met. And I had hoped that Lieutenant Tribio was present, because I want to say it to him personally. He said, well, culture's too big. Culture's not big. He dismissed what we were saying about what I was saying about culture, because it's just too big. That's all they talk about in post-training is culture. You can't be a sergeant or a lieutenant or a captain or a chief if you don't know the culture of your particular police agency or the culture of the law enforcement in California. That's all they talk about. It's given different names, but it's all culture. What are the values? What are the ethics that we pass down? What do we say we're going to do? So if you have a group of folk in Oakland Police Department who don't even recognize that culture is the utmost important thing, we're not getting anywhere. We're not getting anywhere. And this has been written about over and over and over. And I use that phrase that was said by I'm blanking on his name right now, but he said that culture eats policies for lunch.
Yeah.
So what we do is make policy.
Peter Drucker, culture eats strategy.
Let me finish. That policies are the things that would look good, like ornaments. But if the people don't believe in it, they just ignore it. If they don't ignore it, they work as hard as they can to make sure that the policy fails, either through chaos or just not doing anything at all. So I'm saying, first step is, I think, is to realize Oakland Police Department has to realize they need a cultural change. But if their rank and file says, hey, we don't know what culture is about, we're not going anywhere. Got to 23 years.
My suggestion is that we have a subject matter expert come in and suggest and address not just the ad hoc, but the entire commission and the community, and to point out these kinds of things and what the challenges are going to be. And so if we can get somebody like Ellison to come. I don't know if he charges a speaker's fee or anything, but someone who has the recognition, who can come in and who can say the kinds of things that we're saying. We're preaching to the choir here. And we need buy-in as well. And we need to educate the commission and the public about what the steps are going to be to get ultimately to our goal. And so I think it might be worthwhile to try to brainstorm the names of some subject matter experts and possibly try to see which one of these meetings, and maybe a meeting, or do we have a town hall or something? What might we, or public forum at one of our meetings?
I recommend you guys read the book, read his book. You can get it and read the book. I guarantee you it has steps in there what they went through, and his description of Minneapolis Police Department was pretty much what you could have said is Oakland Police Department.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I think somebody like him to come and say, this is what was going on in Minneapolis. These are the challenges we face. These are the things we had to do. These are the hard decisions that you're going to have to make. And sort of, give us, like, suggest a blueprint for getting us from point A to point B. And there may be some others as well. I don't know if Eberhard or anybody has really, or somebody with Eberhard's group might have it. But Mario's hand is up. Mario's hand is up.
Yes, I also want to remind all of us here that we have a subject matter expert here among us. That's Reginald Lyles. And so, he can either, tell us about the book, report on the book, but more importantly, he's been on the other side, so he understands. Every time he speaks, I learn something new, so let's start honoring who we have here, and I'm not kidding when I say subject matter expert. Thank you.
Nikki?
I just wanted to add to that the Reimagine Task Force, which happened in 2021, had an advisory board with community members and professionals and they had a group called OPD, Organization and Culture. Some of the topics overlap with what we're talking about today and may choose to prioritize today. And they also heard from subject matter experts during their research and offered some of their recommendations through that. And some of that advisory board was led by Reagan Cunningham and Christina Peterson. They heard from subject matter experts like Darlene Flynn of the Office of Race and Equity, DC Drennan Lindsay, Joe DeVries, Lieutenant Anthony Tedesco, and Lieutenant Shavies, Chief Susan Mannheimer at the time, and the DVP folks. And actually other work groups heard from other subject matter leaders and authors as well. And so just offering that there's might be some legwork within that set of recommendations. You can Google it, the Reimagine Task Force Oakland, and you can see the final report on there. I know Mariana was part of that. Maybe some others were somewhere in the mix too. I just didn't want to leave out the voice of the community because I think that was an effort to voice some of the needs 2 years ago. It's not too stale of information yet.
Thank you for uplifting that, and thank you for all of your comments. I do think we need to incorporate the expertise of those subject matter experts as well as the voices of our community. I do think that it makes a lot of sense to bring them to both the commission as well as this ad hoc. I can get back to trying to figure out some of these experts that have been mentioned, as well as some of the culture subject matter experts. I think propose that we consider having a more general subject matter expert on culture change for the commission. And then more specific ones for our work as we focus on individual topics or areas. If that works, I don't even know if that's possible. I'll need to dive deep onto some of these SMEs and also take a look at the reimagining work and really not duplicate work, frankly. Jose.
Yeah, I was just going to say, in terms of a subject matter expert, Reagan Cunningham, she was Harmon before, with her experience in ceasefire and the success of ceasefire when she was heading it up was just tremendous. And she had not just a depth of knowledge, but a breadth of knowledge, because ceasefire covered so much. So that's would be my suggestion, that we bring her in to speak to us, and particularly if we can narrow it down to a specific topic that she can address. But she's, I think, just a walking encyclopedia of Oakland and its issues around gun violence and how that was dealt with in the ceasefire environment. Not to mention, she's married to a retired OPD officer. So she got to see a real depth and breadth of OPD from a number of angles that we could benefit from.
Brenda, thank you.
And I think that we could, if we do something like a panel discussion, and certainly we tap local talent like Reggie and somebody else, we could have maybe 2 or 3 people sort of discussing a topic and discussing culture change, and do it that way for the commission, or something before this commission. And there was somebody from the community as well. That was my point. Thanks.
Reggie.
Yeah, I would submit a name like Ben McBride, and or Michael McBride, and either one of those brothers would be phenomenal. Ben, more so, I think, because he actually had the challenge of teaching Oakland police officers, and the kickback and the issues that he had to deal with just to get ideas across. That means that, I want you guys to understand this, not only OPD officers, but every officer in California have to unlearn some things. And if they don't want to unlearn it, what is the risk for them not unlearning? That's the only way you negotiate with folks that are thinking like that. I'm just not going to do it.
May I say that's an excellent suggestion, because part of culture change is changing that implicit thinking, implicit bias that we all have. And you may verbalize something, but the way you think is the way you do. And I think that Ben and his brother Michael could definitely address that. And it's so difficult to do it because of the blue wall, and I just the generations of thinking, because it has to come from internally. If it doesn't come from internally, and that's that implicit thinking, and so that's something that needs to be addressed. And so excellent suggestion, Reggie. Thank you.
So I missed that suggestion. I'm sorry. I went to go look for the book that I use. And so if what I suggest right now is what you already just suggested, I apologize. But the book that I use for changing cultures, because I've had to, and I consult around this kind of thing myself, diagnosing and changing organizational culture. I just had an idea, just from having studied this one a lot. There's something about police culture that is by itself going to need some rethinking. And so what if we had subject matter experts that know policing and know police culture work with organizational culture change people who do not know police culture? Because there's certain pieces of it that I just, like when you're talking about implicit, I just wonder, some things might be taken for granted or as a given by people who are in law enforcement that people who are not might see completely differently. And that's been my experience as commissioner so far, is just that there's some things that just seem like that's every day, that's normal, that's just policing. Whereas on the outside world, there are a lot of things that people don't do anymore, or they, vocabulary is different, software is different, everything is different. Having those work together to maybe break through some of those things that seem normal and have a different view that is not based in police culture. Because, if there's just a review, if there's 4 kinds of cultures, you'll have a clan culture, an innovation culture, a hierarchy culture, and a market-driven culture. Police is mostly going to be in hierarchy and clan, and market and the other, they just don't touch that. So those other 2, and the market culture is all about staying up with the times and the present and the moment. Having an expert that can help the people who know how to change police culture look at police culture in general and shift. That seems like a long-term idea, but honestly, if we're being honest, the police culture in general is going to have to change, right? So why not be thinking really big about how that can work and have it start here?
Thank you for that. You're going to need to give me that author later, because I did not catch that.
Tafara,
Okay.
when you said police, let's be honest, if we're being honest, police culture has to change, right? Okay.
Yeah.
When
And
you
just
said
like
that,
a big picture,
right, right. The way you said that, sorry. Sorry about that. The way you said that is like delicately walking over that. And the reason why I think you had to delicately walk over that, because the assumption is that the police will not change. And that assumption is correct. You are 100% correct. The monster is, and it is a monster, is that you can't tell us what to do. We know we're supposed to protect and serve, but you don't tell us what to do. And when our chiefs, captains, lieutenants, sergeants tell us what to do, we get together in our small groups, they call them choir practices or beer drinking, blah, blah, and reinforce what we're going to do in our small group. These are the values that we're going to have. So it's not, if we're going to be honest, police culture has to change. It's screaming from the mountaintop. They have to change. The only reason why it's been 23 years for OPD not to adhere itself to the consent decree is because they emphatically will say we're not going to change. We don't care who tells us. We have to face that. Those of us who want the change and looking in the right direction. And that's hard conversation, because they throw out, well, you just don't like police. No, I love the police. I want more police. I want them paid well, but I want them to be constitutional and not biased. Are you saying all police are that way? Of course not. But I'm saying there are 10 to 15% that are horrible. And we have to admit that without being ashamed, with a straight face. If we're going to carry this to the public, like, oh, well, they kind of have to change, don't they? The public is going to say, these guys have lost their mind. They don't know what we're dealing with. If you are part of the people who are being policed and wrongly policed, it's emphatically they have to change. And they've written books after books after books, civil case after civil case after civil case, judgment after judgment after judgment. And when we talk along these lines, people, they're looking at their watches. We don't want to talk about this. That's where we have to live. That's where we start. Of course, they have to change. Emphatically, all of them.
That's why we have Reggie Lyles among us, is to hear that, our subject matter expert.
Now, let's be clear about something. They don't love me.
That's a good
Not at all.
thing.
Not at all. I know it. I'm aware of it. Not a problem. But at 74, come on. I thought, we all thought, look, if we get into the law, we can change things. I thought it was just about race. Nope. Nope, otherwise you wouldn't have that Memphis deal. In other ones, no, it's a culture that says civilians can't tell me anything. And if the chief of police demands something, what do? Vote of no confidence, we get him fired. Like the chief of police out there in Vallejo. Gone. So this is a tough battle. And so if we really want to do transformative change, we got to say it's going to be 5 years minimum. Let's get some, let's demand the most we can get done and stick by it. Why don't
For
we,
that.
why don't we
Mariana, were you
commit to
gonna say
reading
something?
Keith Ellison's book, and then we can all be, instead of hearing from me, we can all be, get on the same page, understand what he was dealing with. And again, he's an attorney general and, ran the DA's office. The attorney general's office in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
I don't think I'm going to require reading, but Mariano,
What? Why not? Why not?
because we are a group of volunteers and I have no authority over you all. I would
Okay.
strongly suggest that you
Okay.
all read it, right?
Let me
Like
humbly suggest this.
yeah,
This
Be
is
the better.
surgery we're doing.
Yep.
This is not ice cream eating. This is surgery. We're going to have to take some things out and replace something. This is heart surgery.
Yep.
Delicate. So we need to come up to speed. We ought to believe about 60% what OPD is telling us.
Darn, and I was looking for my strawberry helado.
Ain't
Jeez.
gonna happen.
Okay.
This is surgery.
So I was
Mariana,
about to say that whatever policies, whatever recommendations, whatever direction we take, we always have to make sure that there's accountability / enforcement, because otherwise it's not going to work. We can, Reggie always talks about, that enforcement, punishment, to be, blunt, is what's going to change. If in the locker room, the Good Old Boy Network knows that, they can't say this, they can't do that because it's going to affect whatever, either their pocketbook or sitting behind a desk, whatever it is, it's some kind of accountability. So we have to make sure that we always attach that to whatever we come up with.
so Jose,
Yeah, I was just going to say that one of the things that I think of all the time, and certainly when I read Riders, I'm reading it again, is the rookie that blew the whistle brought us to where we are today. And we have to in the course of what we're doing, I think we have to keep in mind that we have to create not just culture change, but also as an aspect of that, a safe place for cops to hold other cops accountable. And I heard, in a Nicole workshop one time, I heard a cop say, nobody hates a bad cop worse than a good cop. Well, we need to make sure that they follow through on something like that extensive. And that means that you have to create the conditions under which somebody can safely call somebody to account who's their peer, maybe a subordinate. But that, I just wanted to mention that in the sense of people keeping that in mind, that not only should there be a real solid accountability mechanism, but also a real solid way that people can hold inside OPD, hold other cops to account. Some sort of a safe way that they can do that when they're good cops saying this was done by a bad cop and I'm going to call them on it, and be able to say that safely. Thank you.
I know that y'all are itching to get down into these topics. You're starting to touch on them. I definitely see that. We're talking about the discipline matrix. We're talking about accountability. We're talking about sort of reporting requirements for officers and reinforcing that good behavior, sort of reporting the bad cops. I wonder if we can set out our schedule, or rather, I can just choose a schedule and we can just start in on one of these topics. What do y'all think? Maybe just start getting some work. All right. When I look at these, a lot of these I think take a lot of thought, and maybe thinking about sort of where the department is and what policies or procedures to sort of implement, or what changes need to be made, or training. But one of them kind of strikes me as not necessarily needing that. And that one is messaging to the community about the department's values, and sort of what we want that message to be, what our community's perspective on what that message would be, whether it's the vision, the mission statement, or the purpose. I think all of us have been on ad hocs where the department has a uniform vision or mission statement, and it's okay. But I think that if we want to really start on this, and I think we're all very good at this, we're all very good at sort of being able to say what values we want, or that we want culture change, or what should go into broad strokes. What should go into that? What should go into that? What do we as a community want the department to have as part of their vision, values, or mission statement? For our purposes, I'm going to see if I can find the Oakland Police Department mission statement really quick. Yep. This is the department's mission statement. All right. The Oakland Police Department's mission is to provide public service focused on public safety and the sanctity of life, to hold ourselves accountable to a high standard of conduct, efficiency, and efficacy, and to promote mutual respect between the department and the communities of Oakland. How do we feel about that as a community? And what about that makes us go towards, what about that is reflects the values that we want? Or in the alternative, what do we want the mission statement to capture in terms of what the department is and what we hold it up to be? Anybody? Jump in with it.
Immediately what comes to mind for me is truthfulness and transparency. In other words, no cover-ups. You can have this paragraph on there, it looks really nice and makes most people feel really, nice and happy to have this kind of police department, and these goals. But what's the reality? The reality is that there's untruthfulness and cover-ups. How do we put that in there? How do we, how do we make that, ensure that that statement, mission statement reflects that or exposes that?
Bring up a really good point. Again, I don't know if we're going to wordsmith today, but I do appreciate that. What are your thoughts about how that might be brought up? Just those exact words, something in particular, or something else in particular? Reggie, if you're talking, you're muted.
Okay, I want to piggyback on.
No, I'm not talking. Oh, I'm not.
Oh, go
Oh, that
ahead.
was Reggie. Okay.
Go ahead, Brenda. Go ahead, Brenda.
No, I was not talking.
Oh, I want to piggyback on what Mariano was saying. High standard of conduct. There's a lot of assumptions there, but what do they mean by that? So that's where you instead of saying high standard of conduct, we say precisely what we think high standard of conduct is: veracity, transparency, mutual respect. Secondly, at the bottom here, where it says to promote the mutual respect between department and communities of Oakland. I'm an old guy. In my day, it wouldn't have said department and communities. It would have said communities and the department. Do you understand what I'm alluding to or implying? The department is to protect and serve. Servant is not a bad word. Servant is a noble word. And so in my estimate, to protect and serve, not ourselves. That's where the pendulum has swung, I think, too far in the wrong direction. I'll give you an example. If you talk to law enforcement across the country, they say the same thing over and over. We want to go home at night. We want to go home at night. Everybody wants to go home at night. I got kids. I got a family. Well, I know, but we did hire you to take some risk, and we gave you a badge and a gun and handcuffs and bulletproof vests and a radio and backup in a car and all that to help you take those risks. For what purpose? For the purpose of protecting and serving. So the department has to come second, not before the community. The community doesn't work for the department. The department should work for the community. So if that's in your mission statement, it sends the message that we value the people who live, work, play, and travel through our community.
Thank you for that. That does make a lot of sense. Sort of moving away from the protecting and more towards the serving, that and instilling in the mission statement that the community, we're serving the community and the community is at our focus. Other thoughts?
I have a question, and maybe this is for Chief Wong. How often does the department revisit its mission statement and values and vision to update it?
I couldn't tell you exactly how often we do it, but this particular one was done back for the strategic plan 2021. Our manual of rules published in 2010 has a different mission statement on it. So I don't believe there's been another change between that. So this is probably the most recent update. So we're looking at, one change in the last 10 years. But to change it frequently is not a problem.
So 2021 is pretty recent. So it looks like this process has happened internally already.
Right. But then, hearing what everybody's talking about, to change it again is not difficult because we can update as needed.
What's your socialization process then? After you change it, do you have specific, points of conversation with your, police officers to understand and make meaning of the change, or is it just, some pieces of paper have a new update? I mean, obviously the last document we had didn't even have this updated statement, so I'm not sure like how it gets socialized and actually utilized within the department.
Admittedly, we could do a better job getting it down to the rank and file. But whenever there's a new mission statement, new values that are created, they're incorporated into all our promotional tests. So when we create promotional tests for every rank, there's usually a process of going over documents and new strategies and policies, and they're expected to know these and to understand them. And then that's one way that we can start pushing it down from the middle down. But as you mentioned, it is there's some room for improvement as far as getting it down to the rank and file every time something like this changes.
Thank you.
Great question. Jose. You are muted if you are talking.
Sorry. DC Wong, does OPD have a regular practice of squaring the mission statement with actual practice on any sort of a consistent schedule, once a year, once every 2 years? Is there a regular practice of looking at the mission statement and squaring what's actually happened in that interval to see if in fact they're in alignment with what the mission statement actually says? Does that happen?
I couldn't speak to the previous mission statement, but I know this particular one, when we rewrote the strategic plan for this 2024 range, Chief Armstrong at the time did do that. He looked at the need to talk to individuals outside and decided to rewrite the mission statement to adjust. As far as a regular cadence where we do that, I don't know of one. I know our policies themselves will normally have a refresh rate of every several years, but I don't believe the mission statement or the values have a specific refresh date. But so I don't know if that answers your question fully. But.
Thank you.
Reggie.
I want to put another concept on the table for us to do some research and understand, so we can understand the culture of law enforcement. Has anybody here ever heard of Dave Grossman, Lieutenant Dave Grossman? And if not, he's a national figure out of the military, and I think he did some policing back east. Anyway, he came out with this this concept called Killology. Killology. You got to look that up. Killology. Dave Grossman. He has promoted across the nation the warrior cop mentality. Shoot first, shoot first, shoot first. Ask questions later. That's what I would say in my parlance. But that's what's out there. Now, I don't think Oakland has brought him out or used him to do any training or whatever, but his book is extremely popular. You want to know how police officers are being trained to think, you want to get that. Now, the name of his book is called, I think, The Psychology of the Warrior Cop.
Thank you.
And if that's not it, I'll get the psychological cost of learning to kill in war and society by Dave Grossman. That's the book you want to also read. So if you want to understand what they're being told, if not officially, unofficially, that this is the mentality you have to have if you're policing in an urban environment or anywhere, quite frankly, in an urban, in today's law enforcement.
Thanks, Reggie.
All right.
Let's, got about 9 minutes left. I want to just bring up the vision that the department has, which I won't ask for comments quite yet because we'll need to start figuring out what we're going to talk about next. But I want people to think about this and to see if there's thoughts or things that you may want to put into this vision that is not here, or change what is here. Recognizing the successes of our staff, build a team of, working in partnership with our community, recognizing the success of our team, build a team of professionals who are trained and developed to provide top quality service, hold ourselves and each other accountable, and continually seek to be the exemplar for 21st century constitutional policing, community engagement, and positive employee morale within the police profession. And then core values, which talk about fairness, integrity, respect, service, and teamwork. It's clear these principles are here and the things that we care about, but we also want to make sure we figure out, we think not just what the content of these things are, but how we integrate these things into an officer's daily practice and how we message that, because even though these are here, that's not the perception. Reggie's your hand up? No worries. It's okay if it is. I want to respect time and that we scheduled this for about an hour and a half. We started talking about things, but I'm sure there is much more to talk about and many more thoughts that you may have after today. Let me start off by saying it is going to be 2 weeks until our next meeting, but we don't have to wait for those 2 weeks. If you have thoughts or you have additional suggestions, please say something. It could be a text, it could be an email, it doesn't have to be to the entire group. Because I see Ms. Olubala's hand. I should probably take that. We're going to be doing work in between because these meetings are not enough time to bring about the recommendations that we hope to see. It will be a lot of work. Let me let Ms. Olubala take 2 minutes, and then we'll maybe turn and pick our next topic for our next meeting. Ms. Olubala, go for it.
Yeah, 2 things. First, the work of Jennifer Everhart and her research team that came into Oakland in 2016 resulted in 50 recommendations for change within the police department. And some of that had to do with culture change. Recommend you look at the document. The second thing is the culture change that you are working towards is aligned with the NSA. And the NSA has a couple of areas that it covers. And that's where the culture change should come from. For the NSA, not just generic overall culture change. So related to the NSA is internal affairs, supervision of officers, police use of force, training, personnel practice, and community policing. So I encourage you, if you can't do anything, concentrate on the areas of the NSA culture change mandate and not the whole scope of police culture change that people could come up with if they feel it needs to happen. You are dealing with the NSA and the areas of policing that is covered in the NSA that needs culture change. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Olubala. All right. Reggie, are you about to talk about what our next topic should be? You're muted. Yeah.
I just wanted to say amen.
All right. Indeed. Amen.
Jesse, I have something to add to that
Yeah.
point. I know you have this list of topics from your synthesis of previous conversations, but I am curious given like what I heard in terms of intention and process is that folks want something tied, like, dotted and tied, like crossed at the end and not just a loose end. So it might require us to actually choose depth over breadth in terms of review of topic areas. And so that prioritization piece is really hanging on me. I mean, we can go topic by topic and have these general discussions about how we feel about each of them, but I don't think we're going to get to that complete feeling that I think I heard Mariano and others expressed earlier today, like, and maybe Safara had mentioned, like, even if we get some recommendations and maybe just 2 good ones versus like a breadth of incomplete thoughts. So I just wanted to call back to what I heard earlier today and kind of ask us to reprioritize our focus and wonder if this is if the process is going topic by topic will get us actually to something more complete.
That is absolutely fair. Well, let's take some time to talk about that. I agree with that. I do think that what we need to do is really drill down. We do need to take some piece of this with the things that we've identified and really set out not just generalized discussions about we need culture change or that we need more discipline or that these things need to change, but what those changes might be, and really take a look at the underlying structure and make recommendations based on that are actionable and will actually do something, right? And well, we're not going to do it in 5 meetings for each one of these things, and we may not get through one topic in each meetings. I am open to the idea that we pick one area and we take it and we go with it as far as we can without just moving on to the next one. I do think that it should probably not just be messaging. I think we do want to take on like a concrete piece, but I think that messaging is important and sort of having that conversation around what the department's values, vision, or mission statement is important in sort of our direction and knowing where we want to go. So I don't know, what do y'all think? Pick one and go as far as we can with it, or set out a schedule of 5, have a compromise, pick 2, and take our time with each one of those for the next 5 meetings. Jose?
Yeah, I think the latter is more my preference. I think I'd feel more comfortable if we in fact took a good hard look at, let's say, 5 areas. And I think as we work down the line, if we feel as though we need to cut that down, I think that'll become evident. So I'd feel more comfortable if we covered any, let's say 5 separate topic areas and went from there.
I take Nikki's suggestion to be that not that we not take 5 different areas, but that in the weeks coming up through August of September, we focus on 1 or 2 of these to do a very in-depth look and make recommendations. And in the weeks afterwards, after we continue on, we go area by area by area, not 2 to the exclusion of others, but just take them deliberately.
Yeah, Jose, I hope that makes sense, because I think I heard you also had to want to have subject matter experts in the room, and I just don't know how we could have space for that and, exploration of all 5 topics in the 5 meetings that we had that go for this amount of time. We don't really get very far.
No, with Jesse's explanation, it's clear to me. So yeah, that makes sense now. Thank you.
I would defer to you, Commissioner Shea. You go ahead and identify the two. Or send out the topics and, majority, we all select two and we move with the majority. I don't know if culture change is gonna be one of those because it's such a huge undertaking, but that's my recommendation.
Why don't I suggest that we take a week. I'll ask Kelly to just do a poll. Pick your top 2 out of the 5, and I'll leave also a field for anyone to enter their own for a different topic area that maybe I haven't covered, because I'm sure I haven't captured everything. And we give everyone an answer by the 31st on what that topic is, and then we have that discussion on the 7th. We'll also start to build material, subject matter, try to identify experts and try to get that going.
Can I just be another stickler on or another loud person on process? You're doing this poll, you already have a really hard time getting us to answer polls. So I think have a definitive deadline for it. Whoever gives input at that time. And then I wonder if, Reginald would be open to representing the community folks at the table here and being your partner, Jesse, and trying to narrow down to 2, because people don't respond to these emails and a decision needs to be made before we meet again. So the rest of us can learn up on the topics and be more informed in these conversations, right? I need to look back and have a clear understanding of where those topics intersect with the Reimagine Task Force community findings and community recommendations. I think others might want to pull in a book or, some previous recommendations, maybe the one, from 2015 or beyond. Others might want to take another look at some of the reports that have come out recently. So I wonder if you can do the polling, and also maybe you and Reginald can make the final decision on the narrowing of the 2. Mariano, Jose, does that sound?
I say yes. I love that idea. Reggie and Commissioner Shea do it, and I'm happy with that. The great suggestion, Nikki.
Saw another hand thumbs up.
I'm gonna add myself to that.
I didn't see Reggie's consent. Because my other choice was everyone pick 2 and we just choose the one that has the most votes.
I'm in for pity. I'm in for pound, Jesse. So
Then I imagine we're meeting on the 31st at 6.
It sounds like
Can you make that?
I was interested in joining that conversation too.
Yes.
Is that right?
and anyone else who wants to come in, they're welcome. Okay.
We call this a bless and release for a part of the process.
All right.
Jesse, I have a logistical question. So our hour and a half, does that include the public comment?
Sorry, folks, I have to head out. I did
Yeah.
make other plans for this evening.
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. Can capture it pretty quickly. All right. Okay. Then I will have Kelly send out a survey. Everyone pick 2. Then we'll have the deadline be Sunday at 9 p.m. So Kelly on Monday morning will tell us what 2 topics are. Reggie and I will connect about a time on Monday. Reggie Typara and I will connect about a time on Monday. And then we will sort of identify what those things are. We made an ad hoc of an ad hoc. And then we will push out that information and have everyone so that everyone can get focused on what that next topic is going to be.
Commissioner Shea, I understood Nikki's recommendation to be one or the other because the poll, we weren't responding. And so that's why I think she recommended that a smaller group do that. Am I right on that?
I'm still here. I can clarify. I meant both. I mean, you're gonna put the poll out and nobody's gonna respond as has consistent with the last 2 or 3 polls that have come out. And I feel bad for Kelly because she's been so gracious in her prodding of people to respond. So do both. I mean, whoever is interested, now we're all on the table and we're being called out on responding. Maybe we will respond this time. And if we don't, at least we have this fallback plan that allows the ad hoc of the ad hoc to really give to represent us all, and we will follow suit.
Or anybody that feels comfortable enough to vote now so that you don't have to respond to a survey letter, I'm happy to work lower these barriers to input. Right, because I know it is a barrier. I know it is additional click, and I know it's an additional work. Because you don't want me picking them, because I'm just gonna put more restrictions on the police.
You and Reggie, my goodness.
I don't, yeah. I don't do surveys well.
I,
They tend to just sit there waiting for an answer, and then I get 3 nudge emails, you know.
all right, all right. I'm just gonna go down the list, and if you're okay, if blink or raise your hand, or that's what you want to do, then we could do it that way, or we could do it by survey. I mean, like, right? We're all here. We're all here. Unless you need to go or want to go, that's okay too.
Yeah, I see that Commissioner Malele is offline now.
Yes. All right. And so we already passed time, so I do want to try to get this done and capture it now. Okay, where is that working list? Let's see. Changing the department from bottom up and increasing buy-in of newer officers. Hands? Choices? 1 of 2.
Say it again, sir.
All right, let me just share my screen. That's probably easier.
Yeah, and let's see or hear them all first.
All right, yeah, they're right here. Changing the department from the bottom up and increasing buy-in of new officers. Just changes to policing and the way that policing is done. Ethical leadership and management. Reinforcing accountability and messaging to the community. Those are the 5 topics.
Let's see, and sorry, do you have how they match up to the NSA priorities?
I do
There you
not.
go.
I was going to figure that out afterwards.
That's what I was trying to figure out before to get an informed. To be more
Maybe we
informed.
should do that first.
Let me just check one thing. What is this? Okay. You're probably right. And I don't have the wherewithal to do that because I think that's about a 30-minute to an hour project. So we're going back to the survey idea.
All right.
All right. In that case, we will next be slated for August 7th. I'm going to do a lot of work between now and then to try to hone us in and be deliberate and sort of get us all the information needed in order to prioritize for ourselves. Reggie and I were going to schedule a time for probably Monday, July 31st.
See, I'm
really
putting in
just
my
fill down.
calendar.
Let's say 5 o'clock, if that's okay. And then we will push that out and then reconvene for August 7th. Thank you all.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse, for your
Thank you.
patience and
Good meeting, Jesse.
Great work, Jesse. Thank you very much.
5
thank
p.m.
you
Reggie, I'm sending you a
all
link.
making time.
Thank you all.
Good night.
Good night.
Good evening all.
Reggie, you still there?
Yeah, I am.
5 p.m. work?
I will make it work.
All right, it'll be me, you, and the chair.
Okay,
Me, you, and the chair, and then we should have the survey results by then. I'll push it out to you, and then essentially from that overall topic, we're going to try to identify something in that list that I've sent out for people to focus on and talk about. So we have 5 topics, right? The email that I sent
Right,
has 5 topics.
right. I
But then
got-
each
got
one of
it.
those topics has little sub places. And I think what Nikki suggested is that after one of those topics is one of those broader topics is selected, you and I are going to synthesize as to what to focus on.
Jose, I'm still on the line with Jesse. I'll call you right back. Right. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
conspiring outside of the meetings? Is that what's happening?
Little back room politicking, I guess. I don't know.